Today is September 28th, 2012. I'm Eve Wells, and you're...
Steve Taddeo.
Okay. And we're going to talk about what got you into music, and you can start.
Okay, well, I started playing. They tell me I was in a high chair, tapping on the high chair and all. I don't remember that, but they tell me, my parents told me that. But I started playing. I guess my Uncle Val, God rest his soul, he, actually I was into music 7, 8, 9, and I'm a homemade drummer, self-taught.
Did you ever do anything in school with it?
I played in a school band.
Did you go to Waltham schools?
Watertown.
Watertown.
Actually at Natick first. I was born in Framingham, 1959. Raised in Natick and moved to Watertown when I was 12. My father got transferred. And, but anyway, to make a long story short, I started fooling around with the drums. Actually, I didn't have a drum at all. I had a pad. So my parents bought me a drum pad. And I was doing the drum pad and all that. Actually, my sister was into music before me. She's younger than me. And my sister Lisa. And she was playing piano, and I wasn't doing anything. I just, and she started playing piano, and then they had a recital. It was Joseph Costello's music studio she was taken from. They had a recital, needed an accompaniment. So I said, I think I was about 7 years old, she was 6. And the old drum thing, Jingle Bells, and we were doing on the pad, on their pad, Mr. Costello's pad. And, but then, I was into, I like Buddy Rich and all that. I was going, oh, Buddy Rich, great drummer, and all that. And my Uncle Val said, you think Buddy Rich is good? What do you hear, Gene Krupa? So he gave me the Columbia Non-Breakable LP, the famous 1930. I still have it, blue album at the Carnegie Hall concert. And I was knocked right in my behind when I heard that. Oh.
So you did the recital with your sister.
Yeah, and we did Jingle Bells.
All right. Now, you said Buddy Rich and so on. Where did you hear music? Was that radio, records?
It was on records, TV, the Mike Douglas show. We were allowed to watch the Mike Douglas show, and he'd be a constant guest in that show. I used to enthrall him. And then my Uncle Val said, Buddy Rich, he says, what do you hear, Gene Krupa? So he gave me the Non-Breakable Columbia famous 38 concert. I put that in my little Ambassador record player, put it on the manual, and listened to that over and over and over. Oh, knocked me out, knocked me up. I didn't have a drum though. I didn't have a drum. I still had the pad. And when I was about 10, they got an S&H Green Stamp store out in Natick Way, like the one they had over here where Dr. Marola is over there. So I would do odd jobs around the, well, make a long story short, we had a catalog there, and I would do odd jobs around the house. We had an allowance, like in those days, 40 cents a week, and do jobs and get the stamps and all that. But
so what'd you pick out?
But the catalog was the cheapest thing in the catalog. Well, I would have settled for a saxophone or a bass or a trombone, but the cheapest item in that wholesale catalog was a set of drums, hence the drums.
How about that? You would have preferred any of the other instruments?
I would have preferred a bass or a trombone or a trumpet.
Why?
Well, just reading music, or just to learn to play, to play an instrument.
But you could have later.
I suppose, yeah.
So it sounds like the drums really were your love.
They were, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when was your first gig?
My first gig, well, I used to go to my father used to take me into Betty's Rolls Royce in 1971, 72, and Buzzy Druden, I got to know him, and there were guys at that time, like Paul Motter was there, and Craig Baldwin had long hair, with curly hair in those days, and I think Dave Whitney was there at a time, and a few other musicians, Mark Pucci, I remember he was on bass there playing. We were all kids, but they were older than me, but not much. And Buzzy would say, hey kid, you want to play while I go out and have a cup of coffee? I said, sure, Mr. Druden. I'd play a set with them and get to be, come every week. I would take me in. I remember the big Bentley out front, this is,
What was that? Was that in the North End?
I think it was in the North End somewhere, around that way,
Yeah.
Then I would sit in with Al Druden at the Scotch and Sirloin. But in those days, they didn't bother the age because you would go in, get a ginger ale. My father would be there, sitting in. And this is 1971, 72, and it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Where else did you did you jam anywhere else?
Well, later on, like in the 70s, well, actually, I did my first gig with the St. Barbados kids.
Mm-hmm.
The kids band was I went to Watertown High, Junior High, and we had a little kids band. In fact, the very first New Year's Eve we played was when they just had built the Post 440 in 1970, 71. They built that, and they said, "You want to do a New Year's Eve gig there?" And we had the kids band. And we all got $25 a piece. I said, "Wow, there's like $100 in those days. $25 for, you know."
Yeah.
We had Artie played, and there was Sid Jr. there, and his brothers played. We had the kids band. Chris Beard on trombone, and it was fun. And we were playing gigs there, and I started booking some of my own things. I had a younger brother, Joe, who played quarterback on a jazz accordion. And this is like 1975, 76, 77, and we were playing duos in the lounge side. But in those days, they didn't bother the age. They didn't bother the age in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And we were playing over there. And, it was a whole lot of fun.
Where are they now, your sister and brother?
I just one sister, Lisa.
Yeah, but your brother?
I don't have any brothers.
Oh, I thought you said...
That's St. Barbados. We did
I'm sorry, I misunderstood, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Fun. So, then as you grew older, and we're in the 70s now, you're talking about, what'd you do in the 80s and the 90s?
Well, in the 70s, I formed a big band. In 1970, right in the blizzard of 78. It was before the Swan Senders, of course. It was the Steve Taddeo big band. I had like 2 trumpets, 1 trombone, 3 saxes, and 4 rhythm. And I hired Ben Petrucci, who's in Brighton. He's an all-around sax player. And I hired him to do some arrangements. I had like 25 arrangements. Also Chick Webb and Goodman and Krupa. And I started to play some dates. And that was a short-lived band. 1978 to 83. And what happened was, I lived at home in Watertown on Rosedale Road, and there was a tremendous rainstorm, worse than what's going on out there now. And my father forgot to put the pump on, and I had all the music in boxes on the floor, and all the music became paper mache. So I gave up the ghost, and that was the end for that time, having a big band.
Mm-hmm.
But I did, later on I did big bands, form special things like nowadays.
So did you always have someone to do the arranging, or did you buy stock arrangements?
I bought stock arrangements too, that I saved like pennies and dimes, and bought stock arrangements. And
who did you go after?
Mostly, before the advent of computers, I would write to different, like the trade, like Gombe would have a section of, like Dave Pell arrangements, or Nestico. I buy the stocks,
Mm-hmm.
they were cheap in those days, and and do that. And I rehearsed in my basement one at a time, in the garage actually. Everybody crowded around, trying to get it to sound right. And did some gigs, some dances. I remember I had a tape player. We did a gig at BC College. I remember the date. It was April 2nd, 1979. I had a nice tape player, TIAC. I put it down for 2 minutes. It was gone.
Mm-hmm.
They took it.
Oh,
I was so, I couldn't record that. I was so, well, anyway, you learn to leave things around, You figured in those days, who's going to take just set it right. Well, anyway, started doing, concerts and stuff like that, and then I was doing general business work too, and,
When did you and Maureen marry?
Maureen, I met Maureen, excuse me while I blow my bugle, as Benny Goodman said, Benny's bugle.
I'll cut that out, don't worry.
Oh, you can leave it. See, I went on dates, but I was always playing, on Saturdays. And I met Maureen in a CYO, a Catholic alumni type of a club. She'd probably shoot me if I was, but anyway, met her and played volleyball, covered volleyball. And we'd go to this place in Malden and live in elementary school and be playing, and she never let me live this down. I used to wear dress shoes on the floor because I didn't have sneakers. So she had a mean serve, so she would serve the ball, hit me in the back of the head. And I would turn around, what are you doing? Lady, what are you doing? You know? But then we sort of
Worked it out.
Yeah, started dating.
So you've been living in Waltham then how long?
Waltham, I moved to Waltham in 1986. Moved to Waltham, Watertown.
Did you ever play for, what's her name, Hill?
Josh Lemon Hill, I got a little story to tell you there. I did some of her rehearsal. She would rehearse on Monday nights. And I says, hi Josh, she said, can you come over? I would play cymbals. So that was about the time she was starting to lose it a little bit. And so she said, oh, Steve Taddeo, nice to see you. Glad you come on in. We'll get you some, whatever you want me to play, Dot. I play cymbals. So everybody's assembled in the ballroom. They're ready to go. She's ready to give the drum, and she goes like this. You over there, who are you? I says, oh, I just talked to you at the door. I'm Steve Taddeo. Oh, okay. So that was...
So how long, you didn't play with them when it was a marching band then, or when she did some of her overseas
No, I
trips?
never did that stuff. I just
Yeah.
filled in. She needed somebody to fill in. Somebody was sick, I just filled in.
Yeah.
I never really played any parades with her.
You're lucky.
Yeah, yeah,
I know a lot of people who did.
yeah. In fact, at that time, John DeMacy was alive, and he was in on the band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know quite a few of them. Jerry didn't stay in that very long.
No. Yeah.
So then what did you do?
Well, then I joined Ray Leach's big band around the time, 1977. I joined his big band. He was rehearsing at school in Sudbury, and I believe Jerry was in the band then. And Gary Spellacy was a drummer, and Billy King. They were alternating. So Ray needed a sub, so I called. He worked at Miter at the time over there in Bedford. I said, Mr. Leach, my name is Steve Taddeo. Do you need a drummer? Yo, yeah, come on over. I'll audition you and all that, you know, maybe as a sub. And I went over and did the audition, and they liked what they saw, you know. I was a kid, you know, and get on the band, but they as a sub.
Mm-hmm.
So then in 1981, I joined as a regular member of the big band. Gary Spellacy, he taught up at Lowell, University of Lowell. He did all our percussionist. He'd always, I never met him in person. He always called me. He'd say, can you fill in for me? Can you fill in for me? Sure. I never knew what he looked like until years later.
Yeah. So then, now we're up to when? Beginning the 80s?
80s, yeah. And I formed, actually 1990, I formed the Swing Senders. And somebody asked me, say, how'd you get that name Swing Senders? I says, well, I had a band before this, Steve Taddeo Jazz. I used to do the concerts. In fact, I was one of the first bands to play Waltham Common when that was flat. That was flat over there. It wasn't the hump that it is now. It was 1985. And Jim McElroy, who ran the clothing store across the street, he hired me and a few other bands. They used to have it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is way before Grace Quinn and Steve Kilgore. I did some concerts there. It was flat ground over there. And I did some concerts later on, 87, 88, it was just this jazz band, Steve Taddeo Jazz Band. So somebody said, how'd you get Swing Senders? I said, well, Gene Krupa, when he formed his band in 1938, his first movie was with Bob Hope and Shirley Ross called Some Like It Hot, which is retitled for TV Rhythm Romance. So that movie, it was called Gene Krupa and the Senders. So I figured I'd put Swing Senders, swing in front of Senders, called the Swing Senders.
Neat.
That's how I got that name.
Neat.
Yeah.
So you've had them since?
Yeah, 1990, and we're into 20 years.
Yeah. So I guess you've seen a lot of musicians going through.
Paul Meyer was my favorite trumpet player. You know, he's my all-time favorite. Because they're all greats, you know.
All right, we're up into the 80s now. You've got the Swing Senders, and then what?
Okay, now.
Because you have a lot of bands that you do.
Yeah, I could talk a whole year on the bands. But I was doing some general business with a band from Stoneham called the Music Masters. We were doing like ballroom dance and that type of thing. And that was okay. I liked doing it, but it was like it became mechanical after a while. And, but I hunted there. I was with him a long time, 1973 to 92.
Wow.
And every Saturday, and and I was playing. He would get mad if I was playing gigs with my own band, because I wanted to do swing and jazz, and I wasn't about to, you know, I'd give him plenty of notice. And it was good. And then we had a parting of the ways on good terms, of course. And I did work afterwards with him, you know, on occasion when his drummer would be out.
Well, as you progressed through all of these bands, how did your style of music change, or did it? I mean, I knew that, I hear you, that for general business you had to play whatever
yeah,
you had to play.
straight, you know.
Yeah.
And,
But your preference is trad jazz?
trad
or?
jazz, swing, Dixieland, and a big band. That's my all-time favorite. Those three there. I can do rock too, which I don't like to do, but I.
Nobody likes to do rock.
But you have to wear all the hats.
You had to be born very
Yeah.
late to want to go into rock.
Like I was talking to Gary Johnson, Dick Johnson, so
Yeah.
we were talking about drums. He said, "You have to wear all the hats," and I agreed. You got to wear all the hats if you want to, work nowadays. You got to do rock, tangos, cha-chas, ethnic, Greek. I did some Greek weddings.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh yeah.
With what pieces?
I was the drummer.
Well, obviously, yeah,
It
but
was a band from Watertown.
they have a
The
bouzouki
Greek-
and...
yeah, three mandolin players there and
Yeah.
a bass man, no piano. And it's like,
No, they never had a piano.
yeah, it was like
That's
that,
right.
all that, Yeah. I liked that. I enjoyed that, And
This is the line dancing,
line
sure.
dancing, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I did some Italian work too.
Uh-huh.
Worked with a guy in Framingham who just passed away, Sil Melchiori. He had a band around Natick Way, and Paul Ambler too. I worked with.
So I bet none of those would have had pianos, I would think. If you're playing really the old stuff, they didn't have pianos in
He had
Greece.
quarter box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then there's another, I forget the instrument, you play it with mallets, and it's somewhat like...
Marimbas.
No, it's not marimbas, and it's not a xylophone. It's a Greek name I've forgotten. But it's what played melody when the reeds weren't playing and so on.
I remember a melody when I did it, but they had it.
Well, I'm talking real old Greek
yeah.
music
Yeah.
and old instruments.
Yeah.
But with the Italians, they
They squeezed by
Yeah.
the quarter box, with
yeah,
tubes.
sure, because they wouldn't have had pianos
No,
either.
and I did a lot of work with them. With Rich Mazzilli, he was in Lexington. He was walking like an Art Van Dam, and I did a lot of gigs with him, duo gigs.
So of all the stuff, the ethnic stuff that you played, you sound like that was okay,
Yeah,
but it
I
was
liked
just
it.
was just the rock and stuff like that.
I did
that you-
rock too. So, I sat in with one night with the Reminiscence. Did a big thing over at the when Mayor Stanley was the mayor. They did a big thing at the Welch roller skating rink there, and my school centers played, and then they went on, and I thumped the drums just for a couple of tunes, just for gag, and so I did rock. I could do that, but I like the jazz,
Yeah.
swing,
Yeah.
and the ballroom too. Ballroom's okay,
Who are the local, well, maybe this isn't a fair question to put on tape, but the local musicians that you enjoy playing with the most?
Well, I work with all of them, of course.
I know.
My all-time favorite is Paul Warner, trumpet player. He's my all-time favorite. And probably a close second would be maybe Scotty Fripp and Jeff Hughes. I don't want to leave anybody out, but those are my three favorites. And then there's some of the modern guys like Pat Stout, Jeff Stout's brother, and Jeff, of course.
Oh.
He's done, some big band things. I'm leading the Dick Dunlop big band now because that's another big band that I joined in 1992 up in Middleton, and Dick is in his 90s now. He's at the band since 1939.
Wow.
And Paul Brand, the bass player, has been with him since 1939, and him and I are running the band. So, make a long story short, Dick's in a nursing home up in New Hampshire, and we're keeping the Dick Dunlop name going. We built the Dick Dunlop Big Band, directed by Steve Taddeo with Paul Brand, with Sophia Stevens singer. So we doing some summer concerts, that type of thing. But when we get back to it, we'll talk about the musicians. Oh yeah, Craig Ball, my favorite. John Clark, my all-time favorite. Bass players, Justin Meyer, these magic carpet, swinging like a magic carpet. John Turner, Dave Landoni, and then I did a gig with Bucky Pizzarelli back in 1999. It was one of my Jerry Bowden had called me. He said, "You want to do a gig with Bucky Pizzarelli with the Walthamite Philharmonic Orchestra?" I said, "Sure,
Really?
I'd love to do that."
Really?
And we did some rehearsals, and I remember the date. It was June 6, 1990, at the old Kennedy Junior High before they did did the school over. So, and then that was recorded and videotaped and all that. And Jay Giles was on it too. I worked with him on the bill. He was playing jazz.
He had told me one time that his son wanted to be called Bucky, and he wouldn't let him take his name.
Yeah,
that's why his son is John.
John,
He's
yeah,
not Bucky.
Yeah, yeah, that's
It's
right.
fun.
Yeah, and that was really fun. We did an arrangement, sing, sing, sing. Bucky said, "I want you to take off." I said, "Well, Bucky, this is your gig. I'm not going to overshine you." "No, you do it." I did it.
He's a lovely human being.
He is. I did several gigs with him. He's very nice. Very nice. Then the Connecticut Jazz Festival with Scott Phillips All Stars.
What year did you do
I
that?
started doing that. They didn't do it this year because for some reason they couldn't get together.
Also, it's been more recent in the last 10 years?
Yeah, more recent.
Okay.
We've been by my 4th year doing it with them. And he had on the band Scotty, Craig Ball, Dave Whitney.
Would Noel
No, I did play with Noel. I did some things with
Yeah.
Noel over in Lincoln that Pete
Well,
Bird was
wasn't
there.
Noel was in that oftentimes?
Yeah, he was in that often before me though.
Yeah.
The drummer, I think, when he died, Eddie Metz. Yeah, he
Oh,
passed
yeah.
away. He was a great drummer. One the year he died.
Yeah, I think I
played,
had seen him.
and I subbed for him when he was
Yeah.
alive. And who else was in that band? Mike Hashem, banjo player.
Yeah, yeah.
Was in the band. Albie Bernard, my favorite tuba player.
Yeah.
He's wonderful to work with.
He is amazing.
And
He's,
Jimmy Mazzy.
Yeah. Albie is one of the few tuba players that I know that, I think I mentioned this to you before, that actually hits the low notes, perfect pitch.
Yeah.
He never varies.
No, he never does.
It is such a pleasure.
It's so relaxing just playing, next to him, and him and Jimmy Mazzy and excuse me, Ted DePlantis was on piano, and he's a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I've seen him too.
yeah, wonderful player. Those guys are all, I'm in awe of them. Here I am, I come from nowhere. They did.
And some of them come from nowhere
Well,
too,
that's
you
true,
know
too,
that.
Yeah. But then Paul Bonner put together the Beale Street Jazz Band. That was back in Essex in '05. And Johnny Blau was a famous drummer. He played with Buddy Berrigan. I got to know him, and what had happened was he sliced his hand. I guess he came with his girlfriend in a Toyota Camry, and the girlfriend, somebody was asking him a question, and the girlfriend electric window, rolled the window up and slashed his hand. So I had a Dodge Caravan then.
Ooh.
So I took him down 2 miles down the street to get it stitched up. Blood all over my seat. And I don't care. Johnny Blau was a famous drummer. So he was with the Harlem Blues Band. So he let me play the first set with the Harlem Blues Band. Al Casey, I think, was on guitar. He was a black band, and he played in the 30s with, I think, he was Fletcher Henderson or Horace Henderson. But anyway, he was in the band there, and I got to play it. And I used his drums. I used Buddy Berrigan to get it. He did the old Slingerland set. And he said, "You play these drums?" I said, "Okay, John." Played them, and it was fun. Then he did the second set.
I never thought about that, but I suppose that you play other drummers' drums often because you can't just change the sets in your...
I'm not comfortable with any drum set, I
Yeah.
was afraid I'm going to break something, but yeah, I'm pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
But then he said to me, he sent me a book that he wrote with Warren Vacher called Backbeats and Rim Shots. He signed the book too, Steve, thanks for taking care of me and all that. And he sent me a couple of cymbals from his Buddy Berrigan did, which I have in my wall at home. And
Wow.
Another great drummer who I kept in touch with, Buddy Schutz. He was the drummer. When Benny Goodman, when Gene Krupa left in 1938, Dave Tuff came in on drums, and he was always drunk. So then in November '38, Buddy Schutz joined the band, and he's the famous drummer on The Angels Sing, with the Ziggy Elman, Martha Tilton. He's the drummer on that, with the friend, like they do the friend. He's the drummer on that. So we got talking. I started talking to him once a month since 1982.
Wow.
And he invited me down to his house in Toms River, New Jersey, for dinner. And we went through scrapbooks and all that, and he gave me all the pictures. And he died in February. I was planning to get the Walthamite Moose on the 24th of February 2007. I got a call from his granddaughter that he passed away. But I kept in touch with him right to the last. And just before he passed, he sent me all his cymbals that he used with Benny Goodman. He was Jimmy Dorsey's drummer too, near the Amapola band, Tangerine, when Helen O'Connell and Bob Eberly were on the band. He was the drummer from 1939 to 45. All those cymbals he sent me. He said, Steve, I want you to use them. I want you to look at those cymbals. I want you to play them. So I have all those cymbals.
How do you decide what you want as a setup for your drums?
Well, I played the same setup for the past 40 years. I always had the same setup that Gene Krupa used, the four-piece set. And when Gene had his own Benny, an extra floor tom, so when I had my Benny, I wanted another floor tom. I even had a gong at one time too, a gong too, which I borrowed. But lugging that thing around was a lot of hassle, lugging that thing around.
Oh yeah.
But I modeled my drum set after Gene Krupa because he was an innovator. He put Slingerland drums on the map because I play Slingerland. And the Zildjian people.
Yeah, well, Zildjian.
Yeah. I just found the factory recently too, picking out cymbals down there. John Papone, who's a dear friend, he said, come on down and pick out some cymbals. I went down there a couple of weeks ago, pick out some cymbals. And, people are nice down there. Mrs. Zildjian was very nice. And they have a Gene Krupa room there, a conference room. So I had some Gene Krupa memorabilia, and I donated it to the conference room. So some of my pictures are on the wall there.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
I am amazed that, you say that you started from nothing, but you've made more contacts and done more than most people.
I try to, yeah, always learning,
And you're also into people, which a lot of musicians aren't. They go, they play their gig, and they leave, and don't really know.
I was in the
people.
band, the Seacoast Stompers now, and I was always into showmanship and all that, and excitement, and I had fallen out with Frank Stadler, of course, and but it was all on Matters Musical, because he's a great guy off the music stand, and but it was on Matters Musical, the showmanship and all, but I had so much energy that and things in the rhythm section weren't going the way they're supposed to be going. I was getting ticked, so anyway, I got fired, but I did a gig with him recently. In fact, Molly Malone, I've been doing some stuff with her, and she says, I need a piano player that plays like Teddy Wilson. I says, I know just the guy. His Frank, so call him up. So she called him up. And then I did a gig with him, and saw him on stage. I'm an early bird, but I get to the gig, and he was pretty able for me. Frank, how you doing? Good, good, good.
That's
the end of that, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That was for how long? That must have been almost 4 years.
Yeah, well, I was with it in 2008.
Yeah.
And it was...
so 3 years at least.
Yeah, February of 2011 was my last gig. Yeah. But my mother had died on the 2nd of January of 2011, and things were going through my mind, and I wanted to keep playing. I was, at that time, and I just didn't care. I wanted to really let it all hang out. So...
Yeah.
But what are you going to do when you got to sort of, it wasn't totally all my fault. I take some to blame, but there's other things too. But
there always are.
There are.
In everything,
you really can't.
There's always two sides to every story.
There's, but you just forge ahead because life is short. There's an old saying, you can never have too many friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw you the other night at Sherburn, and I think I talked to you afterwards and said, the thing that really strikes me with any band is the camaraderie that Jeff and Craig and John...
The spontaneity of it,
yeah, the ambience makes the music just come alive, and the audience comes alive, and it's a different experience, and they're playing the same stuff that you've got on CD.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hit you the same way.
No, it doesn't. That was a lot of fun. I didn't want the night to end. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Every one of those gents in that band were superb.
They are good. They are good. Ross Puteau is good.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
Favorite piano now?
He sure is.
Yeah, I've watched him really develop, and he's superb. He plays almost anything now.
Yeah, he's wonderful, and of course Jimmy Bazzi, of course.
Oh well, there's nobody like Jimmy.
No, I know. Yeah, and it's just wonderful. And I subbed on Wolverines with John Clyde when his drummer, I think Dave got married, and he had me sub on the band. That's supposedly either 11. Basically the same band, but there's Like Rick McWilliams is a great player. I used to play for Happy Feet years ago. I was her first drummer, Lucinda Eller. I joined that band in 1985. And it was a good band, and of course I was fired from that band because I was too swinging for her. She wanted me to play pre-1920, and I was into 1937, 38 swinging. But I did work afterwards, whether she needed me, I should have come on and played.
Is she still around?
I guess she lives in the North Shore somewhere, but
I haven't heard of her for a long time.
I haven't heard in a while, but it was Matters musical, and
Brief break, and I'll cut it out. Can you talk about Al Vega?
Oh,
You were
yes,
close
yes.
to him. You ask him about him.
Okay.
She asked about it in the Swing Center, in the Swing Centers. And that's where Al Vega comes in.
That's right. Now,
Are we rolling yet? Oh, you are rolling. Can you cut that out? Okay.
you had Al Vega with you.
He was my
It's the last time
yeah.
I saw him alive.
That's right. In fact, the last gig he did was with me. As a matter of fact, I had him when I joined the Swing Center. When I formed the Swing Centers, I was on vibes. I wanted a vibe player, playing vibes. So almost every gig I did with the Swing Centers, Al Vega was on vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another great man.
Yeah, wonderful. We did his thing. They dedicated the street after him in Everett, and
Oh, really?
got the bands together. We got the lineup of guys, Ted Cash and Paul Monnet, and all the guys that we played with right on the sidewalk. There's a picture, I guess, of some on the internet there. But anyway, we played, and that was in October of 2011. He died that December.
No.
Excuse me. But Al was a great guy. She's playing, with him was wonderful. I did some things at the Museum of our National Heritage in Lexington. There's a thing on YouTube that Harold put on there. We do China Boy and Honeysuckle Rose, and that's a wonderful session. Al's really going up a storm on the vibe.
And blocking on, there's a sax player that you had that night that Al Vega was with the band, Paul. He played with the Medford band.
Paul Vignoli.
Paul Vignoli,
That's right,
yeah.
Paul Vignoli, another
Yeah.
great player. He goes back to the 40s,
Yeah.
early 40s.
He was in the Medford band with.
He was.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Medford band now, as a matter of fact.
Are you
Every
really?
other week, because Joe Masseri had some heart problems, so they voted me to do every other week for Joe until Joe gets on his feet, and I'll drop out. But I've been doing that for 2 years now for Joe Masseri in the Medford band.
Paul Vignoli and I can't remember exactly what we were talking about.
Medford band.
The Medford
Yeah.
band, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, who's in that now? Because Bunky left
Bunky
that.
left, yeah, and I used to sub years ago when Bill Tesson was leading the band.
Right, right, I
I
remember.
used to sub on drums and those days. When Makagita was a great drummer, he passed away, and I used to sub for him 1980, 81 in the same place, Medford High. And Bill Tesson, there was Jack Walsh was in the band at that time, and Dave Bentley, I think he's passed away, he was in the band at that time. And just trying to think who else was in that band. Larry Rubin was in that band.
Yeah, Larry, I think, went into a nursing home in
Yeah, I know
Seattle or
his wife had
someplace.
passed away, and she passed away. I think I heard that she passed away. His
Who?
wife, Larry Rubin's wife had passed away.
Oh, she had passed away, I think, before he moved out
Before
to
he
be
moved
near
out.
one of his
He was out in
sons.
Alaska at the beginning, wasn't he?
I don't
His
know,
son or
so
something.
way out somewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul Vignoli's wife died right
That's
after
right,
that,
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul's a great player, and I try to
Yeah.
book him on some things, but I like to use him. He's a great player.
Yeah.
It's good to keep, he's not old, he's young, 86 or whatever he is. 86 years young.
Yeah. Yeah, that Medford band, I think
Big Band Incorporated.
Yeah, that started, I think, in the 70s, didn't it?
60s.
Was it in the
Yeah,
60s?
according to Joe
Okay.
Almazian, who passed away too.
Yeah, because I remember seeing them, they had a party one time at somebody's house. I think I even have pictures of who was in the band at that time
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was
Guy D'Angelo was on guitar at
Yeah.
that time. I don't know what happened to him. I think he's still alive or not. But yeah, that was still a fun band.
Yeah, well, usually it's the brass that goes first because they lose their teeth or their
Yes.
embouchure or something.
Yeah.
Leslie Havens played in that band too.
That's
Do you
right.
remember
I
her?
remember I was on the Ben Anthony band with her.
Do you know that she lives in Waltham
Waltham,
now?
up North
Yeah,
Waltham. Yeah, she.
She's at Lakeview.
That's right, Lakeview, and she. I was on a Dan Gable big band recently, and she said, "Oh, Steve Taddeo, yeah, Leslie, I played with you with Ben Anthony when Ben Anthony had the Gene Krupa band because
Yeah.
Ben Anthony was he would had me as a deputy drummer. This is 1985, 86 too. Used to play at the home base with the Danversport Yacht Club, and I used to play his rehearsals with him. I used his drums, of course, and we did some shows. And he'd want to conduct the band up front. I'd do something like Leave Us Sleep, and he'd do all the drum numbers. He'd give me some solos. I remember doing Leave Us Sleep and doing Drumming Man. You know, he'd do drum boogie and sing, and all the big flag wavers. And that was a thing. Leslie was in the band then, and Joe Lentino was in the band at that time. Dick Wright was in that band, and it was a fun. Steve Fabre on piano. That was a fun band, you know. Then Ben, I used to go to Ben's house in Linfield. He used to come over for breakfast. I'll make some pancakes. Flip the pancakes up, and he'd flip them behind his back. I'd catch them like they were cymbals. In fact, he gave me a big cymbal, which was on my wall at home, you know. And but then he was, as you know, he was killed.
I can imagine what your wall looks like from everything you've said you put on your wall.
My wife Maureen said, "This place is gotta be clean." I said, "Maureen, this is my music room." You know. But Ben Anthony, then he got killed. The drunk driver hit him. Got killed in 1993. I was a pallbearer at his funeral. Yeah. He's been dead since 1993.
Wow.
That happened around November 1st, 1993. That happened, and the band was kaput.
Yeah, well, I guess we're all aware of the ones we've lost.
Yeah.
Yes.
Break.
Break.
Can you talk about his style? Because I've noticed, just as an aside, you often flip the sticks and they'll come down backwards. It don't matter. You know, you keep going. And I've seen you with a backward stick or no stick, and you keep doing it. So I wonder if you might get into that. Okay.
Sure. Okay. We back on? When you're playing, you're more than just a drummer. You're also a showman.
I am.
Now, how did you get into all that? I mean, some of it is after Krupa, but there's some that
Krupa
isn't.
started that.
I know, but you're beyond some of what he did.
Beyond some of the stuff he did, I'd like to add some of my own color stuff that Taddeo way. Taking care of business, like say, for an example, like John Clark's band. I told John, I said, I'm not here to do solos, John. I'm here to play good time. If you want to do drum break once in a while, that's fine. If not, I'll play good time, choke some cymbals and that type of thing, play good time. And I tell the other bands that I'm here to play good time, that's what I'm here for. But you know, my own thing or somebody else, I'm going to let it all hang out. But my style is...
So what? Tell me some of the things you do that aren't just banging.
Well, some of the things I do, I do it underhand, under the cymbal. And Gene started that, and I copied that from Gene under the cymbal, playing around the cymbal, up in the cymbal out in the audience. And Gene used to do that under the Chicago style. Another thing is I get the drum break with the cowbell and the butt of the stick of the left hand on the bass drum. The Chicago style of playing, late 20s style. Baby Dots and Krupa started, but the Baby Dots was an innovator. He started it, and Krupa, emulated that after that. And I would get that and do that. And my style is more or less, from Chick Webb, Zeddy Singleton, Baby Dodds, Krupa. Then there would be like Dave Tuffus, subtle work, and the host of drummers. There are so many drummers in my hero. They're all dead. Too bad they're all dead, but they're all my heroes. But yeah, those drummers there. Kaiser Marshall, Stan King was a studio drummer, not much of a showman, but he's a studio drummer. Let me see. Bomb Downs, who was Ted Williams' drummer. Great players.
So what kinds of things did each of them pass on to you?
Well, listening rim shots and cross-sticking. Krupa started all the cross-sticking stuff and the hi-hat, playing under, overhand. They all played. I do that today. I don't think anybody's doing that. I do it underhand, overhand. See some of the old movies like when Buddy Rich was with Artie Sharon, 39 scene going like this. He got that from Gene. Gene was doing all that. Big broadcast at 37. You see Gene do on Bugle Call Radio. You see him go like that. And I do it now today. And I'm probably the only guy in this era that's using calfskin heads. Real calfskin heads. I used to tuck them myself with a baby spoon, and I used to soak them in the bathtub with my neighbor. We lived in Godcrest, and my neighbors would come out to my wife, and I'd hang them on the clothesline, all these round, round stretched skin mark. And my neighbor would say to my wife, she said, "What is he doing?" "Don't even ask," she said. Margaret said, "Don't even ask." But then later on, they come tucked. They tuck them at the factory and just put them on the drum. And I play plastic too, of course, but I like the calves, especially for brushwork.
Yeah.
We call it painting. I like to do some painting of the brushes. And, you know.
So you're much more elaborate in all of your playing than most of the people that I've seen around.
I would say, yeah. But I'm still learning. I have a long, long way to go. I haven't even scratched the surface yet because I keep a pad at home in between TV commercials. My hands are always going on that pad. You know, I got music, I'm reading the music too as I go. And I didn't stop learning. I didn't stop. I want to keep learning and learning and keep going and going and going because I'm still playing.
It strikes me that your drumming is like if you were watching the Indianapolis 500 and someone were giving the color cast. You know, the color cast is when a pro racer is going beyond the announcer and saying, well, you know, when you come into turn one, this is what you're looking for, and that sort of thing. Well, it adds color to everything, and what you do is beyond the beat.
Yes.
You do add a lot of color.
I try.
Yeah. Well, you succeed, which is nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of color to it.
Yeah. Like the cowbells, the sound of the cowbells, you know, and the wood block. I don't know wood block, but I emulate the wood block with the rim of the drum, you know. Because there's too much clutter. If I have a wood block, then I can't get to this thing, I can't get to that. So I use the rims of the. That's what Baby John's would do. He used the rims of his drums and the cowbells, but he never would block. He did the rims. You know.
What else should we know?
No, not much to tell really, but.
Oh, I think there's a lot to tell.
Yeah.
You know, you have a lot inside and a lot to tell. You knew a lot of people. You've studied them. You've incorporated so much. I find it fascinating. It just it's so much more than somebody who just gets up there and keeps a beat. You know, oh yeah, I can play the drums. You know, like a metronome.
Yeah. No, I want to make the band sound good, and I want to be a part of that band sounding good. Not just me. I want to make sure everybody else shine, especially in my own band. You know, I don't like you know, I want the other guys to enjoy the limelight, not just me, everybody else too. That's how it should be.
Well, the other night with John and Craig and Jeff, there's no question of sharing the limelight with that
no,
group.
I know that. Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
They're very alive.
Oh yeah.
And but I certainly was aware of your drumming.
Yes.
Because it added color.
And then there's the critics too. Without mentioning names, there's the critics, and one of her things she said, "Oh, Steve Taddeo is a noisy drummer just like Gene Krupa," and stuff like that would get to me. I don't let it, you know.
It's the total audience, not one.
Yeah.
It's the total audience. If people come back to see you, if they come to see your band and they come back to see you, that's all you need.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. I can't think of anything else to ask you at the moment, but...
Who have we been talking to?
Okay.
And thank him.
All right.
May I say one thing?
Yes, you certainly may.
It's been a pleasure. I'm so grateful that you had me come.
Oh, we've been wanting to have you for a long time.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of us getting together.
It's very nice of you to do this. I
No.
appreciate that.
All right, well, I'm Eve Wells, and this is done for CJALL, which is the classic jazz at Lincoln Library. And you've been just wonderful, Steve.
Thank you, Eve.
Steve Taddeo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Great.